All right, as you can tell, we're in Manhattan getting ready to podcast. This is my kit. One of my friends, also former lacrosse player at Colby, and she's a CEO of one of the largest media companies in the world. You may know them. They're called Barstool Sports. Let's go find Erica Nardini. At Barstool Sports HQ with Erica.
Hi.
So excited to be here.
Excited to be here with you.
You and I connected over Twitter. I outbounded you about 2 years ago, and you responded immediately. It was right when you were brought on as the CEO of this company. And I'd read that New York Times article on you and found out that you were a lacrosse player at Colby and a goalie there.
Yep.
So we'll jump into that. But for me, it was so indicative of how you always tell me that this business is being built for the future of media. That's how you've positioned yourself, is how media is going to be consumed a decade from now, 2 decades from now, and you're always forward thinking. You played sports growing up. Do you see that crossover between what you developed as an advertising executive in media and marketing and funneling a lot of narratives through athletes and sports, and why are sports so compelling?
Totally. I am a huge advocate for sports. John Steinberg asked me this, team sport or individual sport? And I was like, team sport 10 out of 10 times, because I think the lessons you learn in a team sport are just things you take with you forever. How to win as a team, what it's like to lose, how do you handle losing, grit and work ethic, and also, passing the ball, getting the ball, and just the locker room. Barstool gets criticized for being a locker room. I spent the majority of my college career in a locker room, and a female locker room is not that different than a male locker room. And the camaraderie you get from that, the family you develop in it, and also the idea of building to something bigger. And, in the case of a sport, it's winning or a championship or just being good or beating your biggest rival. The spirit of that and the humor that comes from that is just awesome. So
yeah, talking about corporate culture, or at least culture, whether it's in your locker room in sports or with your company, it's something that is overused, overstated often, and you end up walking into a lot of companies that are regimented and feel the same cookie cutter. And obviously here, coming through here and spending some time here with you previously to shooting this podcast, is it's clear that the culture for Barstool is really important, and you've maintained that from taking the position a few years ago to now.
Yeah, Dave set an awesome culture for himself and for Barstool, and we've been able to continue that. I think culture is really important. I also think believing in something and having there be something bigger than yourself is really important. I see that. It's funny, I interviewed someone last week, and he sent me a follow-up note and explained in the follow-up note why working at Barstool would be so great for him. And I was like, I get why this would be great for you. Like, how about coming here to make this thing great and making it something bigger for everyone? And it's funny, I have some colleagues who used to make fun of me, because even when I was in big corporate places, when I was at AOL, when I was at Yahoo, Demand Media, we had a big quest because we wanted to IPO, and that was exactly like being on a sports team, and it was all about one shot. We had one shot, and I loved that. But I always tried to find bigger meaning in the team of it all and to be part of something. And, I think Dave set that out with Barstool from the earliest stages, and we've been fortunate in that we've been able to, work really hard to keep that spirit. And with Stoolies and with our fans, we're in to make something bigger out of it.
Do you have any tactics specifically around either getting people to follow when you're leading a boardroom meeing, or speaking to executives individually? What are some principles that you have?
I think every person is different, and there's a lot of different ways to do things. I try to be a really good listener, and I try to be very understanding of the dynamics in any place or any room. The second is, I think, having integrity to doing what you say and saying what you do sounds so trite, but it's actually really hard. Being consistent is tough, and I think that people want consistency and to go with people who are trustworthy and who they can depend on. I also think pushing. I think you've got to push to win, and my most unsatisfying moments have been in places where I want to push and people don't want to push. They want something safe and to go home at 5 o'clock and to go on to whatever other things. And that's always been super frustrating for me. So, creating something where you can push towards the next goal, you can articulate what that goal is and get buy-in to get there. Because I think generally people want to be part of something that's winning or part of a quest.
How do you handle the 15 years of work that you did in the kind of the soft skill development that you have to make sure that a lot of the younger employees here, or just across the board in advertising and marketing, or it could be in any form of business, how that's communicated, how that's appropriated properly?
Yeah, I think it's a lot like sports. Like, you got to show up every day, and you got to like show up to play. Like, I remember I played field hockey with this exceptionally talented woman, but she was just a game player, right? Like, she could have given a shit about practice, and like it was annoying because you couldn't, it wasn't annoying.
Gamers.
Yeah, gamers. Like, she was a gamer, and like she was awesome on the field, but it was also she called it in, 90% of the time. It was exceptional in the game, which was awesome, and we needed that. But my thing on a career is like, you got to be a practice player as much as you're a game player, in my opinion. I also think, like, in the internet, everyone wants to be famous, right? Like, everyone wants fame and attention, and I think fame and attention is earned. Like, it's, I have a lot of empathy for creators, including the guys and girls at Barstool, whereby to break through right now is so hard. Like, it's so hard. Like, you look at Dan Katz, I think, is one of the hardest working people on the internet, period. Like, Big Cat is not only an exceptional talent, like a great gamer, but he grinds on Twitter every single day, every single night. Like, the Rams-Raiders game went till, I don't know, 12:30 last night. And like, he's on Twitter this morning. Like, so I think that there's, I think people think like, oh, I can be famous by being cute or being funny or being personable or being, this, that, or the other thing. But in reality, it's like, everything is a grind, whether you're a creator, whether you're an accountant, whether you're a business person, whether you're in marketing, like where I came from. And so I think, the things for me in having a long career is like, I realize I'm rambling on this, but like, having something you believe in, working with people you love and who you support you and push you, and vice versa, and then being consistent in the grind.